So I'm very pleased to see the work that the Senate has done. While this agreement is for 2 months, it is my expectation, in fact, it would be inexcusable for Congress not to further extend this middle-class tax cut for the rest of the year.
What I'm suggesting is that the President asked for a full-year extension. We agree with the President. Democrat leaders have said the same thing over the last 2 weeks, that we should do this for the full year. Why do we always have to go to the lowest common denominator?
Well, tonight the House is going to take up a series of votes, 3 actually, and the first is expected to kill the payroll tax cut extension that passed the Senate over the weekend. The Senate vote was 89-10. Then the hope is, House Republicans say, to force it into a conference committee where they can negotiate some sort of conclusion. But, of course, the deadline is ticking closer, and we're heading into Christmas week. We're there. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said this about this back and forth, quote, Senator McConnell and I negotiated a compromise at Speaker Boehner's request. I will not reopen negotiations until the House follows through and passes this agreement, speaking of the Senate bill, that was negotiated by Republican leaders and supported by 90% of the Senate. That's where we are tonight. Let's bring in our panel. David Drucker, reporter for Roll Call. Juan Williams, columnist with The Hill, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, David, you just heard the House Majority Leader on this show say that they're going forward. They're going to push this and see how far they can push Senator Reid to negotiate on a 1-year payroll tax cut extension.
You know, there's a saying in the Middle East that certain factions never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity, and Republicans here had a win because the Keystone Pipeline, which is a part of this 2-month extension, had divided Democrats and gave the Republicans a major policy victory and also put President Obama in a box. And it just didn't go over well with rank-and-file House Republicans, mostly the conservatives, but not just the freshmen. They get all the blame, but you're talking about veteran and freshman conservatives in the House caucus who want more. And Speaker Boehner, Majority Leader Cantor, in this case, have no choice but to go along with what their members want. Leaders sometimes have to do that, and they're in a bind. I will tell you this. For now, Senate Democrats are dug in. They have no intention of changing. In Washington, there's dug in and there's dug in. And from my reporting today, they have no intention of doing anything. And Senate Republicans are similarly disabused to do anything, but they're not going to undercut their colleagues in the House. But you had people like Senator Mike Lee, Senator David Vitter. I mean, these are no squishes, and they voted for this thing. Senator Marco Rubio, I believe. And so this is right now a big cluster.
Juan, you know, if the House, as is expected tonight, moves this thing and passes it over to the Senate, then they're holding this extension for a year, including in there the Keystone XL pipeline provision that was so controversial. But then doesn't the onus then go to the Senate?
Well, I mean, the part of this is it's kind of inside baseball for the moment. The inside baseball part, as you have described, as you discussed with Majority Leader Cantor, is that you know, that McConnell thought he had fully informed Speaker Boehner, and that Boehner had agreed that he would support this deal if it was worked out in the Senate. Well, clearly he doesn't have the rank-and-file support. Now, the part of this, I think, and what I'm hearing from the rank-and-file is, well, you know, we're not up against a deadline, and why is the Senate on vacation? They should be working on this deal for a year-long, for a year-long package. The problem, I think, is that the President has the political advantage here, and I think that's what House Republicans are smelling out, is that this thing goes for 2 months, and then they're going to have another discussion about it. Basically, the hang-up is the refusal of the House Republicans to allow for a surcharge on the millionaires.
However, there's also this other wrinkle. The Neutral National Payroll Reporting Consortium has this letter out saying that a 60-day extension is just not logistically feasible. That, quote, we believe there's insufficient lead time to accommodate the proposal. Goes on to say that basically, Charles, you can't turn around the system in enough time to just have a 2-month extension of the payroll tax cut for all of the payroll folks. And I know we're in the weeds here, but that's part of the equation tonight.
But it's an extremely important element of this, and it shows how, to an outside observer who know about this stuff and have no political axe to grind, this is the bill passed by the Senate is an abomination. It's one of the worst ever crafted by the hands of man, and saying that in this Congress is saying a lot. It can't be administered probably in time and fairly. It's nuts as tax policy, a 2-month extension. A 1-year extension isn't even a tax cut, it's a tax holiday. This is to do a 2-month extension is essentially a long tax weekend. It's not going to have any effect whatsoever on hiring practices. The idea that Obama is saying that this is a jobs provision, it's not going to have any effect on jobs whatsoever. So it's a terrible bill. The House Republicans are right on principle and on policy. But on the politics of it, they are going to get killed on this. And that's the irony. The people who actually are trying to do the right thing by extending it to at least a year are being trapped. The Democrats have set a trap. The Republicans are walking into it. It's a perfect example of, in a corrupt environment, if you act on principle, as I think the conservatives in the House are doing, you are going to get nailed on politics.
David.
Yeah, Democrats really feel, and they won't really say this that publicly, but that they got rolled on the initial deal. And that's one of the reasons.
The Keystone Edition.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons now that Republicans on the House side don't like the deal that they thought they got rolled on but went along with anyway. They have no desire to help Republicans out and further explore this. And that's why they now see an opportunity to seize the political high ground. Now, Charles is right about the policy, but especially with a week to go before Christmas, less than a week, this is all about politics and people being emotionally spent, and it doesn't create very good policy-making environment.
All right, down the road quickly, what happens? Does it go to conference? Does it get worked out? What happens?
It depends on whether or not the public relations of this tilts back in the Republicans' favor and the Democrats feel pressured. If they don't, I think they're willing to walk and let Republicans take the blame for this.
Juan.
Sure. I mean, the politics, everybody says the politics are to the Democrats' advantage, and so it's a matter of whether or not Speaker Boehner, as the leader, can convince his rank and file, gentlemen, this is not our fight. The brinksmanship here is not to our advantage.
That looks like it's not going to happen tonight. Charles.
Democrats take a walk and Republicans take the fall.
Next up, North Korea takes center stage after the death of Kim Jong-un.